Wake up, kid, it's 1:30. Youth ain't nothing really changing but the date. You a grand slammer, but you know Babe Ruth. You gotta learn how to relate. I be swinging from the pearly gate. I got all the answers, and lo and behold, you got the right key, baby, but the wrong key. Ho, yo.
Hey chicos, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a un nuevo Hora Prima, casi en el final del año, y también como para todo el próximo año, el futuro para Aerosmith es brillante por Nine Lives, por un lado, y también por esto que acaba de salir que se llama Walk This Way, que es la biografía oficial de Aerosmith. Así que hay una cosa que, to the future, and this is the past, and in a way the present of the band. Thank you very much for being here, Joe, Steve. Do you get upset about now giving so many interviews and going back to the past because of this book?
You know, somebody just said that reading that book is like, you know, like watching a car crash. You can't not look, even though you drive by and you go, oh my God, what happened? There's a lot of circumstances in there that we actually, we take all our 5 different opinions of what happened.
It's interesting to get, you know, 5 different perspectives on one story, where, you know, one story will be examined from 5 different angles, and it's interesting to see how everybody saw it.
We just, you know, babbled a lot into tape recorders, and he put it together. You know, Tom actually did a little writing.
I thought it was fun. You know, we would get in a room with Stephen Davis, one by one. He'd put the tape machine on the table, and he'd ask us questions about the past, and everybody gave their impression and their memory of certain things that happened. So it's interesting, there's a lot of different viewpoints. People remember things in a different way.
In this book, there's something very special about the first meeting of Joy and Stephen because of the drums. There's a part in here which is, we were really amazed. Stephen lent you a drum set.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was playing in a band where, you know, one of the things that when I was a kid and I didn't do well in school, because the only thing that I was really interested in was playing the drums and being in my band. And one of the things my father used to do to punish me was take away my drums. But I was so headstrong about it that I went to this guy that who turned out to be Stephen, who some guys in my band's brother knew. So it was like third hand, and asked him if I could use his drums for this battle of the bands that we were in. And as it turned out, Stephen ended up singing with us a little bit, and that's how we got to know each other for the first time. You know, it was kind of a funny thing. That was a lot of years ago.
I wonder how hard it was to do this, the series of interviews you did, and very personal, very intimate stuff.
For most of us it was easy, you know. There's some people had more difficult stuff they had to relive, but it was fun kind of going over and reliving it and putting it all together and kind of re-experiencing all the things. It's good to take an inventory sort of.
There were times it was really uncomfortable going through it. I mean, you know, certain things that just that happened in years past that we kind of like, you know, went through and said, okay, well that's that. You know, to relive it again was kind of hard, but there was also a lot of times it was fun doing.
I was a little leery a couple of times, like when it was time to talk about why the band broke up in '79. You know, because I had to again bring out my viewpoint on what happened, which is the same now as it was then. You know, as far as I'm concerned, and everybody's kind of got their rock solid way about how they remember what led up to that, and they're not all the same. You know, so I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm talking about all these, you know, the flaws in the human relationships, and is it going to boil up again? You know, but everybody took it really well.
Once you get in touch with, like, you know, a certain period of time, things just start to roll. You know, it's amazing what's stored up in your memory, and it was actually, yeah, it was fun, but there's a lot of funny things in the book. Some of them that I didn't even know went on until I read the book.
But more than anything, we wrote the book about, you know, what happened to us, so it wouldn't get out there what other people thought happened to us. And which happens in the career of a rock band is people give their take of what's happening. So you gotta, you know, set the record straight and make sure that the rumors are just right.
How did I get here? You know, really kind of take a hard look at where you are now and how did I get here, and it helps you puts it in perspective a little bit. I think it helped us in that way.
Always going to redo. I mean, I keep thinking, wow, I didn't put in that
Yeah, we can redo it. We can...
in the soft cover or whatever it's called, the paperback.
But then there's different editions. You know, Stephen Davis was telling us that the Led Zeppelin book has had 4 different editions because he keeps adding stuff as, I mean, he wrote that, what, 10 years ago or something? So, you know, it's like an ongoing history. Unlike a book, unlike a record, which is done, you know, you can't really add to it. A book you can keep doing new editions, so you haven't seen the end of it.
I heard about Led Zeppelin, Hammer of the Gods. I don't know which book exactly, but they're going to take it to the movies. They're going to put it in
Probably,
the movies.
right?
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I mean, the actors, how are they going to find the actors? Do you see yourself, like, getting this story? Because this is story. So,
I definitely, I feel...
story. This isn't a story.
I feel stuff bubbling up before it happens, you know, like... and how do I know is because when I do some things, I feel like I've done it before, and maybe it's because I thought about it, but I constantly think that someday there's going to be a movie, you know, I just dread the thought of why, or it doesn't really matter. But I think, you know, the longer that we stick around having a good time being a band, the longer everybody's going to go ooh and ah about the longevity of Aerosmith and the old this and how you've been around forever. It's just about us making more songs and having more fun and playing places we never played before. So that in and of itself is enough to do a movie about, especially if it spans 30 years. I don't think the flame's going to go out. You know, what are we, 20? How many years have we been around here?
Wow.
25 years?
Yes, 25 years. You're celebrating your 25th anniversary. It's 27, actually. It's 27.
Well, it was since 71, you know, or 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can get a little bit tense when you're making music.
Yes.
No.
There's some videos that prove the pump videos.
Yeah.
Making off.
A little bit tense it gets, you know, but it all gets ironed out.
You know, it's really weird because you sit there and in there, it feels okay. No, and I don't know. I can't. Because when the car goes by and you're speeding a little, you don't hear it. I don't hear it speeding. Neither does he. Get to watch TV. You're the only one that hears it. Really? Put the click track on, sit down here, and I'll leave the room. The track is not going to be exactly on the click track. You're not wrong for going past it. It's just that. Well, then what are you moaning about? Because when you bring it back, the track's drags and it's
That's when you hear the difference is when it pulls back into
I don't hear a difference that much where it's going to where it goes like here and then it's going to come back. Don't you hear a track that's going real exciting and all of a sudden it drags. Okay. No.
We'll just hear it with the
God,
pickup.
you're not wrong. It's just that it's not right.
It's interesting how the making of Pump led to the book being the way it is, because in the making of Pump we had to make a lot of decisions about, you know, Joey, for instance, saying, okay, I'll leave it in. You know, stuff that's, you know, a little embarrassing, you know, a little uncomfortable to watch. And I think that by making those decisions on that video, it was easier to make some of the decisions we made in the book to include a lot of stuff that doesn't show us in such a great light, you know. I mean, there's the other aspect that shows all the upsides of the band's career, but then you also have the stuff that nobody wants to relive.
There's some footage about the recording in New York of this new album. Footage, like cameras all the time.
Yeah.
You don't feel like Let It Be, Beatles?
We didn't have them the whole time. Not like Pump, there was somebody in the room with a camera the whole time. And we didn't do it on this record.
Actually, the 9 live period, the production of the album itself in New York, playing together in a room, it looks like the change from Glenn Ballard to Shirley was a good one. You felt more comfortable, I guess, because of the texture of it.
The thing is, it's like, I mean, there's no like perfect solution. You know what I mean? I think that there were things left behind from the Glenn Ballard sessions that we could have kept. But it's, there's no like perfect solution to things, I think that on the whole, having the whole band play together was a really good thing. I wonder how it would have sounded if everybody had been together in Florida. Maybe that would have been the record, but that's not how it played,
What do you remember about Miami Beach, which is a very Latin thing, which is
I remember the being influenced and under the influence of the sun and birds and the women and just the colors, purples and oranges and reds, and it just had so much, it just, my psyche drank that in and I got drunk from it. I loved it. I loved the women and the colors and the sunshine every day, and it got me to go deeper inside myself, Kiss Your Past Goodbye and Pink, just for the sheer fun of it, I just had a really good time down there, and I really wanted to make that be it. After all, it's like giving birth to the child and denying it its mother. So we went and re-recorded it again. It was kind of like dismissing all that we did in Florida, even though it was pretty much the same arrangements and all that stuff. But, as things went, the weather down there was, Joey had a nervous breakdown, and so we used another drummer, so we really felt like we wanted to get back to the band again and have him play on the tracks and rock it out.
I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally, and it was at a point in time, there was a point in time where a lot of things in my personal life had caught up to me that I hadn't dealt with from the past, one of them being the death of my father, and it kind of all crept up on me, and I went into a really deep depression, and to the point where I really wasn't able to function, and I really couldn't play at all. And we were in the middle of doing pre-production where Tom and I and Brad were at my house rehearsing the new songs, and it got to a point in time where it was time to go into the studio, and I went down to Florida, and I just couldn't do it, and I was really distraught, and I needed to take some time and go away and take care of myself. And so they went in, and had somebody else do the basic tracks, and I was supposed to come in and redo the tracks. But as you can hear, that never really worked out, because when they did the tracks without me, it just it just wasn't right, which I'm pretty happy about, And the whole thing had to get done over again. And now it's the Aerosmith rock and roll album that it has to be.
For myself, we just went through with losing the manager and re-recording and all that. It took its toll on. I'm really in demo land now in my head. It's like I don't want to bother anymore. I want to do the song, put it out, and that's it. Whether anybody likes it or not. It's kind of forced me in that direction. And the thing with the manager was, was very, it was like burying a good friend,
The album is called 9 Lives, and of course the metaphor for me is like the way you've survived. Like, even reading this book, I haven't read it entirely, but reading this book, I got like some guys who've been to hell and then back. And how many lives do you have now? 9? You're living the 9th life, the 5th life, or
24th life.
24th.
We've been past the 9 a long time ago.
I think the metaphor kind of blankets the fact that to stay in a band this long, to not raise your middle finger to people and not say that this will take you down, and to walk through the flames and the adversities and the FUs and the people and all the things that sometimes are there in the beginning as a bridge and then they get in your way in the end. But just to go through all of that, you got to have 9 lives. You got to be able to say you're sorry. You got to be able to get out of an ego place. You got to be able to make decisions. You got to be able to see that, I got drunk too much. It took me down and I got no more spirituality. So maybe I won't do that for a while and try that. You got to just have a lot of balls, and lives.
And 9 Lives is also a title of a song. It came before, the idea of, or after the record was done, the idea of the album title, 9 Lives, and then the Cats. And
it came after we, did Taste of India, you know, with that feeling. And, you know, Joe, I know Joe shares the love of getting something like that on a record. We hadn't gone down, you know, played that type of Indian feeling, you know, in music. And we actually laid that over the song Nine Lives and Taste of India. And I remember Where the Sun Never Shines. That was great, but didn't make the record. And the Attitude Adjustment's got a little, you know, Indian fling to it, little Kariman, just a bit. And so, you know, the song, the title Nine Lives came actually early in February when we wrote the song, but, you know, didn't realize it was the perfect title for the...
Córdoba está ubicada en el corazón mismo de la Argentina, donde los paisajes adoptan las más variadas formas y colores. Su ubicación estratégica, su moderno aeropuerto internacional y su valioso patrimonio cultural y académico la convierten en un destino ideal para la formación de profesionales. Córdoba actualmente está conectada con Colombia a través de 3 aerolíneas, LAN, Copa y Aerolíneas Argentinas, que nos conectan con una sola escala intermedia.
Estoy estudiando Administración de Empresas en la Universidad Empresarial Siglo XXI.
Estoy estudiando como carrera de intercambio publicidad.
Elegí Córdoba para estudiar porque Argentina es un país absolutamente hermoso.
Quería salir un poco de lo que era la capital.
La ciudad me encanta, es muy tranquila, la educación es buena. En Bogotá la gente es muy querida y en Córdoba la gente es muchísimo más. Se tratan muy bien, te hacen sentir como en casa.
La ciudad en general es muy segura. Hay policía y es una policía especial que tienen para la parte turística.
Lo que me llama la atención de esta ciudad es la oferta cultural. Tienes variedad para todos los gustos, toda variedad de situaciones culturales que puedes experimentar en la estadía acá.
Como que me impresiona la cantidad de obras que se están haciendo alrededor de la ciudad, cuestiones viales, de infraestructura. Están haciendo que la ciudad cambie completamente.
Córdoba es conocida en el mundo como La Docta, por haber sido cuna de la primera universidad de la Argentina y una de las más antiguas del continente. Fundada en 1613 por la orden religiosa de los padres jesuitas, la Universidad Nacional de Córdoba es parte del complejo que la UNESCO declaró Patrimonio de la Humanidad en el año 2000. Esta ciudad se distingue por su variada oferta académica, brindada tanto por el sector público como privado, para el nivel de grado y de postítulo. Pero Córdoba no limita su oferta educativa a la capital, sino que la amplía hacia otros puntos de la provincia, y actualmente cuenta con polos académicos muy importantes y en desarrollo, ubicados en las ciudades de Río Cuarto, Villa María y San Francisco.
Lo que también distingue a esta ciudad es que tiene una vida nocturna muy activa.
La vida nocturna es absolutamente diferente a mi país y es deliciosa. El rally es muy excitante, es algo que de verdad te apasiona.
Tienen una pasión terrible, es muy inmensa por el fútbol. Puedes compartir en cualquier momento, digamos, un picado de fútbol.
El plato que más me gusta diría que es el asado. El asado es muy bueno, aparte de hacerlo, es muy divertido porque puedes conocer mucha gente, te involucras en la comida.
Encontrar amigos por lo general acá es más fácil porque la gente es más receptiva. Tú te quieres sentir todo el tiempo como en casa, bueno, eso es algo que te hace sentir como en casa y te mantiene tranquilo.
Cuando termine mi carrera tendría que ir a Colombia a recibirme, pero si tuviera la oportunidad de volver no lo pensaría 2 veces y volvería.
Pienso regresar a Bogotá, a mi facultad, después volver acá a buscar una opción de trabajo que me permita mantener una vida estable.
Yo como colombiana invitaría a cualquier extranjero y a cualquier colombiano en específico a vivir esa experiencia, a vivir Córdoba porque definitivamente vale la pena. Es una ciudad muy chévere y absolutamente deliciosa.
Yo les diría a los estudiantes de Colombia que vengan a estudiar a Córdoba porque aparenta ser una ciudad chica, pero realmente tiene la vida de una gran ciudad.
How this Oriental stuff mixes with the blues stuff, which is all the American stuff and the Eastern stuff, how it gets together and makes sense for you?
Well, it's definitely an odd mix, being the, you know, the scales are so drastically different, you know, but I mean, we bring all kinds of forms of music into it. If you can, like, use 2s and 4s and just blanket it with anything else that makes sound. I mean, the pump record is just layered with stuff between the songs. We wanted to put some of this stuff in the song, so this time it's Indian music. Maybe next time it'll be Peruvian pan flute music. We don't know. You know, it's if it makes sound, we try it. You know, this is the first time it actually, you know, became part of the thing. You know, and it actually dictated the lyrics. You know, the way it was going. You know, the Taste of India thing. But you know, I mean, we like to use everything. You know, and making the music, keep it interesting.
We wanted to do an album that got back to the darker side of the band, the edgier, the more experimental side, and I think we really did it on this one. I think we've used the best of what we've learned in the last few albums and combined it with the spirit of our early albums.
Yes, we have done 3 of this new album.
The new one was really fun. You know, the pink video. Yeah.
Which is a high-tech video.
Yeah.
How did you do all these effects?
Well, that's the thing. We didn't do it.
Yeah.
All we had to do was show up.
Okay.
You know, and look goofy and just have a fun time. Usually video shoots they're torture. I mean, you get there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock the next day.
3 days later, it's 11 o'clock the next day.
Yeah, you still have to go on. You've been up for 24 hours, and it's just this never-ending torture. But that one was great because we just showed up, and we each did, you know, about an hour and a half of walking toward the camera. And then they took the footage and shipped it off to Paris and made it into what it is, you know.
We've been looking for some kind of, I think we've been looking for some kind of video to kind of, we could sort of get out of telling the same old boy-girl story around an Aerosmith song, and I think this is a good break for us, and maybe will allow us to bridge video-wise into doing some different things now.
Maybe with a Hole in My Soul, you were feeling like repeating you a little bit?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do.
It was a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were under a lot of pressure on that one because we didn't know until the last minute which song we were going to go with next. And once it was all decided, we had about a week and a half to come up with a concept, shoot it, and get it ready. So I'm actually really proud of the way that one came out considering the conditions. I mean, we literally, on Sunday, we were up until 2 o'clock shooting it, and then at 6 o'clock we left for the airport to fly to Europe for the beginning of the tour. So some people say we work best that way.
And the first one, Falling in Love.
Falling in Love.
It was an amazing video. I mean, lots of stuff to watch, lots of details. I guess that was complicated. That wasn't very easy.
Yeah.
No?
Well, yeah, our part of it was fairly easy because it was a performance video, you know, and they cut the rest of the stuff in. Whereas Pink, you know, we really wanted to do something without any performance in it, and we wanted something that was, you know, a bit on the groundbreaking side. And I think Pink does that. You know, there's a lot of great stuff to watch. There's a lot of great special effects. It's really funny, and it's got a lot of character and personality. And it was probably the easiest video that we ever made.
For us.
Yes.
Somebody else worked really hard on it, but it wasn't us.
I think he does protest too much.
Doesn't matter. The music's good.
Get that.
Okay, this is 90.
That was better. That's much better.
So what does this mean? We're on the air? Does that mean we're sucking nitrous?
Wait a minute, before you talk, I have to say something. Please, Don't use any freaking obscenities, okay?
Hello? Nice warm wink, Martin.
Hey.
I was wondering if we can get your daughter's number.
Because I have a daughter, and that's just, that's sacred. You can make a million jokes about someone's mom, but you
Dial
your kid, man.
dial 1-800-SUCK-THIS.
Oh, Steve,
No, I got an idea.
Hold on,
I got an
this guy's
idea.
got some balls because let me tell you something. Every man on is wanting to ask that question. So you got to. This guy's a pioneer. You got to give the guy a little credit. He's a little pioneer. Every man that's listening to this program is thinking the same thing. He's the only one that's got the balls to call in. So although we can't give it to you, everybody's thinking that.
No, wait a minute.
Go get mad.
I got an idea. We'll give it to you. Stephen will write it on the bullet.
Oh. Okay, I better shut up. 98. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Hey, I just got a question for you. What's the best song you really hit into on stage of all the things you do?
Turn your radio down, man.
What is it?
That feedback prelude.
I don't know, Sweet Emotion. First thing that comes to mind. And Lives or Sweet Emotion?
It's my video.
You got my band? I'm so tired a little bit. Yeah. All right. What's your name? Okay, thanks. Stretch goes out. Pull right there. No, pull. You pull, I'll hold this part. Yeah. Oh, there you go. See, I get the most coverage out of that. Good evening and welcome to In Your Face Productions.
For Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Because, what's the feeling? What's the difference between doing the meet and greet and going on stage?
It's coming in contact with the audience and not being isolated. Because I think if a band stays isolated, they can start to get bored and just think that it's the same thing every night. But when you're meeting different people all the time, it keeps it really fresh, and it keeps the novelty up. I mean, all those people at meet and greet, they're nervous, they're going to meet the band, and it's all about music and the love of music, and so that energy is something that we get too.
We understand what it's like to be a fan because there's so much music and people that we still look up to. We really understand what it's like to be a fan, and we think it's really important to have that exchange of a fan and in some instances it can be a life-altering experience for someone. Sometimes they say, if I could meet that person. And sometimes you meet that person and they say something, or it's just a simple exchange, but it can maybe change the way you look at your own life, and so it might be a small moment in time, but it's real important, I think, and over the years, I think it's made a difference to our fans. And
it brings you closer to your fans.
All right, take your best shot. Come on.
Ready to go? It's going to rock tonight, I'm sure of it.
tell me about the stage, the props, and the things you're putting in here on the stage in the U.S. and Europe? A lot of serpents, snakes, and...
It's just for the fun of it.
Okay.
Let's have stuff. You know what I mean? What's this? I mean, you know, cloth on the couch. It's, you know, it's just changing
it's an
around.
adornment.
But, you know.
You know, it's like...
I just get a kick out of seeing the snakes come up, you know, and watching that.
Is that a boy thing?
Yeah.
What are
no
you
one
gonna...
ever gets that, though.
The US tour is done. I heard Japan and Europe again.
Oh, yeah,
Australia.
We just sold out the the Tokyo Dome 2 nights in a row. So we're going to go over there for 3 weeks in March, and then we're going to head down South America and all that. And looking so forward to it, you know.
What do you remember Latin America? Here's Air Force One, and there's a highlighted Mexico City where they did this little dance with the lighters, 20,000 lighter kind of worked the way from the back, kind of like a flame.
Well, you know how the farther away from sound, because sound travels at 3,654.690, said Spock, miles per hour, that if you're 20 feet back, you hear the so people are flicking their lighters in time, and because there's a time difference, everybody hears it differently. It goes you know, up all the way up, and it's like you're talking, you know, 2,500 feet, you know, up into the nosebleed section. It just looked outrageous. I couldn't figure out what was going on. You know, was I tripping? Was I having a flashback from the 60s, or was this really going on? It was very cool. Not to mention that they're very much like Mexico City was very much like Spain,
Italy, maybe.
Italy, you know, in that, you know, they're very much into their soccer and football. So in between songs, they're chanting, and it's phenomenal. I love that. They don't do that in the States. What's the matter with you?
Of course, when you go to Brazil, you're gonna do the down south and Chile, Argentina.
Yeah.
Maybe there's always like through MTV people complaining about why places like Venezuela and Colombia are always left.
We almost played in Venezuela on the last tour, but something went wrong, not with us, but down there with the arrangements. And they told us and said, well, we'll have to try it next time. We were really looking forward to it. And we were talking about playing in Colombia too. It just, there was something about the organization of it that didn't work.
You know, this time, if you want to go to Vietnam, you have to make it global too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Vietnam.
He never thought he'd say that.
Yeah. How many guitars have you taken?
About 25 maybe this time.
How many mics? How many harps? How many?
2 mics, probably 100 harps, because I throw them out into the audience all the time. And that's about it.
And how many songs, just to finish the interview, how many songs is I know the set list is changing slightly, I mean, from day to day, depending on your mood or the mood of the audience. How many songs, actually? How many hours, the Aerosmith show right now?
2 hours, 5, 10, depends, you know. It was for the longest time, it was 1 hour 45, and so now it's up to about 2 hours, and how many songs we do, 20?
20, 22 around there. I think we probably have about 40 songs we could play right now, you know, if we had to play end to end. But obviously we know more than that. It's just that getting everybody to play them all the way through would be an effort.
It would be work. We gotta play.
We're waiting for you in Latin America, guys, really. For the middle of next year, 1998, Aerosmith estará de vuelta. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Take care.
See ya.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Steve. Good to see you again.